When Leela finally began to love herself, she thought everyone would be happy for her. For years, she'd lived small, quiet, apologetic, always careful not to take up too much space. She dimmed her laughter so others wouldn't feel overshadowed, hid her talents so no one would feel insecure, and stayed humble to the point of invisibility. But one day, something inside her shifted. Maybe it was the exhaustion of pretending, or the realization that she'd spent half her life trying to please people who were never truly pleased. She began to glow, not from vanity or pride, but from peace. She started saying no when she meant no. She started speaking her mind without guilt. She laughed louder, dressed how she wanted, and moved through the world as if she finally believed she belonged in it. And that's when they started leaving. At first, she didn't understand it. Her best friend grew distant, suddenly too busy to meet. A coworker who once confided in her stopped making eye contact. Even her family, who'd always told her to be strong, now accused her of changing. They said she was different, as if that were a crime. Lila replayed everything in her head, searching for what she'd done wrong. She hadn't been unkind. She hadn't bragged or gloated. She had simply begun to shine, to glow from the inside out, and people were quietly backing away. It took her a while to see the truth. People didn't pull away because she'd become worse. They pulled away because she'd become free. Her glow was a mirror. It reflected what others weren't ready to face in themselves, their unlived dreams, their buried pain, their self-neglect. Her light reminded them of what they dimmed in their own lives, and not everyone could handle that. There was Jenna, her oldest friend, who used to love their late-night talks about feeling lost. They'd bonded over heartbreak, over loneliness. But when Lila began to heal, Jenna seemed restless around her. Conversations that once flowed easily now felt tense. Lila's joy didn't inspire her. It threatened her. One evening, after Lila shared some exciting news about a promotion, Jenna smiled thinly and said, "You've really changed. You're not as humble as you used to be." It stung. Humble or hiding? Lila realized that humility wasn't the same as self-erasure. She hadn't become proud. She'd simply stopped apologizing for existing. But Jenna preferred the version of her who stayed small. Then there was her brother, who'd always teased her for being too quiet. When she started speaking her truth, setting boundaries, expressing opinions, he called her difficult. When she began spending time alone instead of constantly helping others, he said she was selfish. But what he really meant was, "You're not doing what I expect anymore." It hurt, the way people withdrew when she finally stepped into her power. For a while, she tried to shrink again, to be softer, easier, smaller. But it was like trying to fit back into old skin that no longer belonged to her. The more she tried to dim her light, the more her soul resisted. One evening, sitting by her window, she watched the sunset paint the sky in wild golds and reds. She thought about how even the sun, the very symbol of light, sometimes burns the eyes of those who look at it. Not everyone is meant to stand too close to brightness. Some need shadows to feel safe. The realization didn't make the loss hurt less, but it made it clearer. People pull away when you start to glow because your light disrupts their comfort. It challenges the version of you they knew, the one who made them feel better about their own dimness. When you rise, you unknowingly force others to see where they've settled. Some rise with you, others retreat. In the weeks that followed, Lila stopped chasing anyone who walked away. She stopped explaining her growth to those committed to misunderstanding it. She learned that outgrowing people doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means you've stopped betraying yourself to keep them close. New faces appeared in her life, drawn to her energy rather than threatened by it. People who celebrated her without competition, who didn't confuse confidence with arrogance. They, too, had walked through the loneliness of transformation, and they recognized her glow for what it was. Not arrogance, but alignment. One night, as she stood beneath the streetlights, their warm halo brushing her shoulders, she felt the quiet truth settle in her chest. Her glow was never meant to please everyone. It was meant to guide her. People would come and go, pulled by their own fear or drawn by their own courage. But her light wasn't dependent on their approval anymore. It came from within, from every scar that had healed, every lesson that had burned and rebuilt her. She whispered to herself, "If my light makes them leave, they were never meant to walk beside me." And with that, she smiled, radiant, unafraid, fully alive, and kept walking, letting her glow lead the way into the life that had always been waiting for her.